a person who follows his intellect and his cleverness is going to fall into mistakes, which will lead to pitfalls and failures, which will lead to Rayas Gedolos, evilness. And there are those that did tremendous damage to the world, like these big famous Rishon, and they misled the world, and that was all because of their chachma and their seichos. Says Rebbe Nachman that the main essence of Judaism is to go in the way of simplicity and innocence without any kind of cleverness and sophistication. To always see that in every action that he does, there should be godliness in his action. And the navigator and the compass to his action should be, am I bringing Kavod to the Eibishter? Am I bringing glory and honor to Hashem? Then I'll do it. And if not, I won't do it. And if that's his navigator and his compass in life, then he'll never fall into failure or a pitfall. So now, then the Rebbe tells us that what happens when you fall? And he's talking about all the people that fall, the people who went between the pshitas, they'll also make mistakes. We said the haftacha was that you're never going to fail. You're never going to fall into a pitfall, but mistakes you're going to make. So what happens when you fall? So the Rebbe talks about both people. The person who goes between the pshitas, when he falls into doubt. And when he falls into doubt, that's a mistake. And then there are the people who fall that never went between the pshitas, that they always followed their cleverness and their intellect. And when they fall, their falls are real falls because they fell into doubt, which led to hirhurim, which is heretic thoughts, which are heretic thoughts doesn't mean kfira. It means that it's ibcha mistarva. You know those people who always, they challenge you and they think the opposite way. They go against the grain. And which those kind of people that go with heretic thoughts, who says agnostic thoughts, that brings to atheism and apikarsis, which is Mahara Ach Hashem Yisbarach. Says Rebbe Nachman, no matter what kind of a nefila you had, whether it was from the platform of Tmidas Pshitas, whether it was the platform of mistakes, whether it was the platform of Michsholis Rabbim, whether you fell into pitfalls or you came to evilness, no matter which fall you fell into, know that nefila, the purpose of it is an aliyah. The purpose of that nefila and yerida is to really ascend. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to go up. Now the Rebbe, that's the header of the Torah. Now the Rebbe explains to us why. So the Rebbe is going through the mechanics, and the mechanics are like this: everything that was created in the world was created for the Kavod of Hashem. What's the raya? There's a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Kollel nikru b'shmi," everything that is called within my name, which is everything in the creation, l'chvaydi barasi, was created for my Kavod. So the Gemara dashes from that.
I'm just curious, what?
But why b'shmi? What does it have to be? What does it have to do with the name of Hashem? So first of all, I don't know the answer, but it's a question that I asked also, because if you notice, Rebbe Nachman, every word, we didn't go, I want to first go through the map of the Torah, and then we're going to go over and be medayik in the Torah and see the fascination of every word. Every single word has a meaning here, and it's not just, he didn't just use this. In many Torahs, Rebbe Nachman talks about a God. Almost every Torah, he talks about God. He refers to, in this Torah, he refers to the Hashem Yisbarach. What does Hashem Yisbarach mean? Hashem, the name, the blessed name. Other Torahs, he calls him Elikim, he calls him Havaya, he calls him HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he calls him many different terminology. Here, he's specifically using, so I feel like there's a connection to this pasuk where we say, he's bringing the pasuk as a raya, Kollel nikru b'shmi. That means, so to answer your question, my muskal risha, my thoughts, and this is my own interpretation, the disclaimer, by the way, is that I'm never attempting to say pshat in Likutei Moharan. I'm only saying pshat in the way the Likutei Moharan is saying pshat in me. Okay, so it doesn't mean that this is the pshat, and I could be wrong, but this is what I understand. My feeling is that the creation was created with the Shem of the Eibishter. How did the Eibishter create the world? With Shem Havaya, Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is, by the way, the first Isis. Oh, you'll see it later. I don't want to tell you the secret yet, but Shem Havaya. So it means that everything that has existence in the world has the Shem of Hashem inside. Otherwise, it can't have existence. Havaya means present. Havaya doesn't mean we know every time we say Baruch Atah Hashem in Shemona Esrei, we have to say Shem Havaya means Haya, Hayva V'yiyah. He was, he is, and he will be. But Havaya means present. Havaya means now. Havaya doesn't mean the past, and it doesn't mean the future. By the way, Mata says a Gevaldig word. He says we say in Ma'ariv every day we say V'haseh Satan milfaneinu u'me'achreinu. Take away the Satan from the past and the future. How come we don't say V'haseh Satan in the present? We're only saying take away the Satan from before and afterwards. What about the present? So Mata, I don't know where he said but he brought a raya. He says the Yetzer Hara has no power in the present. His only power is the past and the future. To tell you, you know what you did yesterday, you're going to do now. You know what you're going to do tomorrow, what are you going to do now? The present, he has no power. If a person would just fall, by the way, that's Tmimis Pshitas, we said. Tmimis Pshitas means living in the moment, not following the Seichel. Tmimis Pshitas, if a person lives in the present, that's where his power is in the present, because the Satan has no power. Anyway, wow. But Hashem is the Haya, Hayva, the Yiyah is in the present. We can't understand it, but the past and the future and the present is all one, so it's Havaya. So the answer to your question is Kol Hanikra B'Shmi means everything that's created is created B'Shmi. And that's why it's Hashem. And I just want to note that's why I think Rebbe Nachman keeps using the words Hashem Yisbarach. Hashem Yisbarach. Hashem is the Shem B'Shmi. Just a note over there. But I think there's more to it. We'll get to it, hopefully, or we won't. The creation was created b'Shem Hashem. Everything has godliness in the creation, whether I'm aware of it or I'm not aware of it. And every creation has Kavod. That means the purpose of creation was Kavod. Says the Rebbe, if the purpose of something, if that's the whole tachlis, that means that's the source and the root of why Hashem created the world. The reason why Hashem created the world is because the tachlis of the world is to bring to the Kavod. So that anything that's a tachlis, if I want to build a house, and so that is what's going to give me the motivation, because I want to build a house. So that's why I'm going to start building a foundation and rooms and this, because I want to get to the tachlis. The tachlis is I want to build a house. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create the world, and the tachlis of the creation was to bring Kavod to him, his Kavod, that means that is the source and the root of the creation. And you're going to see now that the Rebbe keeps going into the source and the root. He's like, he wants to say something about that. It would have been enough you'll see what the Rebbe is saying. It would have been enough to just say that the tachlis is covered. The Rebbe is emphasizing, no, if the tachlis is covered, it means that the shirish is covered, which means the root and the source of the creation is covered. And we'll see later in the Torah why this is so significant. So now he's going to go again. He's going to take us off on a tangent a little bit, but bear with me. I'm telling you it's worth it. So now the Rebbe says, "V'afal pi," and this is the place where we're holding. "V'afal pi shekulei echad," even though when Hashem created the world, it was oneness. There was no separation. The world was created one. Everything was created together. Al kol zeh ba'briya yesh chalakim. In the bria, that means when Hashem created the world, he created the world as everything was created in 1 second. 1 second. There was no work every single day that he had to create more. But in kol zeh, once there was a bria, there are parts in the bria. So if we just said that the tachlis of the bria was covered, and the shirish of the bria is covered, that means that if there are chalakim, there are parts within the bria, each part has its own specific covered, which is the tachlis, which is also the shirish of that covered. Which means, in simple language, that every component of the bria, every ant, cockroach, animal, tree, leaf, water, stone, every single thing that exists within creation, stars, moon, everything has a specific covered of Hashem that it needs to bring out. And that the shirish of that is the covered, which all of these parts are rooted in the global covered of Hashem, which is the bria, which was one. Now, this is a very hard concept to understand, because oneness and parts don't live together. If it's parts, then it's not one. And if it's one, then it's not parts. Even though the Bria is one, parts. Every part, Kavod has its own glory that it needs to bring out, which is also the root. Now, and that's where the Mishnah tells us that the world was created with 10 mamarim. I told you yesterday that Vayomer, there are 9 times that it says Vayomer. Vayomer Lakim, Yehira Kia, Vayomer Lakim Nasa Adam. And there's one time where it doesn't say Vayomer. When is that Vayomer? There's missing one Vayomer. Says the Gemara that that's Bereshis. The word Bereshis, even though it doesn't say Vayomer, it is a maimer. A maimer means that the Eibishter created it with a maimer. And Rebbe Nachman is going to go in to explain this. But first, let's understand the mission. The mission says, but we could have, the Eibishter could have created the world in one maimer. Why was created? Each maimer to give tzaddikim, multiply the schar 10 times, because they fixed the bria that was created with 10 mamarim, so they get 10 times the reward, and the Rishon to get 10 times Einshim. Let's not concentrate on this. I told you yesterday, we're going to need a bigger beer here, but let's concentrate. What does the Rebbe want to bring out of this? So comes out of this that B'chol Maimer Maima Yeshvay Kavod Miyuchad. You see that each Maimer has its own specific Kavod, because otherwise you wouldn't get 10 times Chak, or you wouldn't get 10 times Einish. Means that there's a purpose to each Maimer has its own purpose. If it has its own purpose, and we said the purpose of the creation is Kavod, must be that each Maimer, its purpose is Kavod. If its purpose is Kavod, then its Shirish is Kavod. Kavod who's Shirish Hakol, because the Kavod is the Shirish of everything. I just want to note, before we go to the next piece here, that Kavod, if you just to understand something, if just once we accept, we need to understand what does Kavod really mean. What does Kavod really mean? We started talking about it a little yesterday, but I don't want to stay on that today. I want to go a little bit weiter. But one thing we could see, that when we are challenged with ego and our own Kavod, it's normal because the world was created for that purpose. So we are stealing it from Hashem, but that's the engine that's in the world. Everything, the purpose of everything is Kavod. So if we're takers, we're taking the Kavod for ourselves. If we're givers, we're giving the Kavod to Hashem. Just putting that aside. We say in Tehillim, we say by Kollel Shabbos, in his sanctuary, which is the Bria, which is the creation, everything says Kavod. Says Rebbe Nachman, Shebechol Maimer Melubish by Kavod Yisbarach. Rebbe Nachman is saying, what's the pasuk telling me? Kuloi Omer Kavod, that every Maimer says Kavod. So he's proving his part that we said before, that when there's parts to the Bria, each part has its own Kavod. Now Rebbe Nachman is proving that each Maimer has its own Kavod. Shayideza Nivra Olam, because that's how the world was created. Kimaloi Chala Aretz Kavodah. Because the world is filled with Hashem's Kavod, which means that everything, the Rebbe Nachman is giving a new touch, everything has the Kavod of Hashem in it. Zog Rebbe Weiter, this is where we start going into the places that talk to us. And even when a person does Averis or very evil things, Chas v'shalom, Shesham ein Kavod Yisbarach. Because over there is no Kavod Hashem. B'bchinas ukvaydi, and my Kavod, my honor, la'acher loy etein. I'm not going to give to the Sitra Acha. I'm not going to give to the other side. What is the pasuk telling us? Sheyesh gvul la'kavod shelo yispashet l'sham. There is a boundary. The boundary of the Kavod of Hashem that was created within the world is a Kavod that was created with a boundary that Kavod can only come out not from the Sitra Acha, only from the Tzad Kedusha. From the Sitra Acha, that Kavod cannot come out. That Kavod is exclusive for the Tzad Kedusha. That means there's a boundary there. In kol zeh yesh gvul k'shemagil l'makomis. When it comes to these places of averus or dvarim roim or evilness, that's already the sitra achra. And there, the covenant is not this passion. It doesn't, just like the oceans don't go onto the land don't go into the oceans. The covenant of Hashem doesn't go there. So now that we said that the covenant of Hashem has a boundary and it can go into the sitra achra, so if the world was created by Asara Mamoros, that means that each mimer has its own gvul of covenant because it has its specific covenant. If it has a specific covenant of Hashem that needs to come out of it, so there's a boundary with each mimer. Says the Rebbe, "Yesh gvul l'chol covenant v'covenant. Each shemalubish b'chol mimer or mimer Asara Mamoros. Each one, that means every covenant has its boundary. That it should not overflow into the external places. So Oibazoi was screwed. If the covenant of Hashem has a boundary, and there's no covenant of Hashem in the Averus and the Dvarim Roim, what the hell do we do? Says the Rebbe, I got you. I'm going to give you a revelation now. Avolda, zog the Rebbe. No. Ki afal pikein. Even though the covenant of Hashem does not go over the boundaries, bevadai gam heim mekablim chiyus mimenu yizbarach. Even the Averis and the Sitra Achot have to exist, and if they exist, their existence is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And even the filthy places, or even the places that go against God, they also must get existence from Hashem, and livelihood, and sustenance from Hashem. So where is it coming from? If the Kavod if the tachas of the Bria is covered, and the shorish of the Bria is covered, and the Kavod has a gvul, so where is it coming from that they can exist? How does this place exist? Zogdei legereba achda, no. They are getting their existence and their sustenance from the mimer that was concealed, from the place where it didn't say Vayomer, where there wasn't a Bria, where the Abishah said there should be man or there should be Rakia, but from the place where it says nothing, it says Bereshis in the beginning. And we say that that's called a Maimah. Shehu Bereshis, that's Bereshis, which is the Maimah Asosim, which that's brought down the Zarakosh, that's called Maimah Asosim. So he's saying, now the Rebbe is telling you something big. This Maimah Asosim is Kollel Kol HaMamoros. That means the Maimah Asosim, and I'm just going to say something here, not because I attempt to understand it, but it gives me, I'm not saying this is pshat, but this is my way of understanding and being able to go weiter with this. When the Eibishter created the world in the beginning, what does it mean, Bereshis, in the beginning? What does it mean in the beginning? There was nothing. There was nothing in the world. There was no creation. There was nothing to be able to say Vayomer. Vayomer means there's a receiver. There is no receiver yet. So it was not shaykh to be able to say Vayomer in the beginning. The only thing there was the beginning. And the beginning is the place of oneness of Kulei Echad. So therefore the Maimah has to be hidden because there is no receiver, and so it's the place of oneness and the place of parts. It's the place of the paradox where God lives there and God is not there. The Shmi can only be from the Maimah Apasuach. The Shmi can't be from the Maimah. It could be there, but it has to be hidden. And if it's hidden, then it's there and it's not there. Is it there or is it not there? It's there somewhere, but we don't know where it is because we don't know where. We don't know where. Remember those words. Says the Rebbe that this mimer, who Kollel Kol HaMamoros, because it was the beginning, so there was no Vayomer yet, so all the Vayomers that came afterwards had to come from Bereshis, from the beginning, because if there was no beginning, there couldn't have been a Vayomer. That means all the Mamorim, they get their chiyus from this Maimer Asosim. The Kavod shel Maimer Asosim, and the Kavod, now we said, if the Maimer Asosim was part of the creation, and the tachlis of the creation is covered, so it means it has its Kavod. But that Kavod, husasam v'nelam b'tachlis hastara. That kavod is also hidden in a way that it's concealed where you cannot see that kavod. Umisham, from that place, hey makablam chiyas. So the averis and the makayim zamatanophim and the bati avodah zarah, that they get chiyas from a place where Hashem is there, but you cannot see. There's no way to see the kavod of Hashem. From the kavod, from the mamarim, hamizgalim, from the revealed mamarim, they can get their existence from there. Because we said the kavod Hashem has a gvul. How could Hashem's honor be glorified in a place of averis and avodah zarah where they're going against Hashem? Says the Rebbe that the place that they're getting it from is the place of where Hashem is concealed in the Tachlis Hasdara, in the Maimer Asosim, which is giving the chiyas to the world without any Maimer, without any Shmi, like you said before. There is no Shem Hashem there, and Mamela, that's how they have existence. Rak, Maimer Asosim Shunista B'Tachlis Hasdara, Misham Mekabel chiyas, Zog the Rebbe V'Dova Zeh. It's not shaykh for us to understand it completely. And you're not allowed to think about it at all. So we're not going to think about it. We accept it, but we understand conceptually there is this Maimer Asasim where everything is concealed in the Maimer, which is the origination, the point of origination of creation, which has a kavod, and the kavod within it is also very concealed. And everything that's outside the boundaries of kavod of Hashem, from the mamarim, which is the averis, the mekayim zamatanof, and the bati avodah zarah, they all get their existence from this maimer sasim, that the kavod is also sasim in this book. Do you understand that we're seeing a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction? It's impossible. When somebody says, this happened because of this, baloney. I don't care who, unless the Tzaddik Ador is saying it, and even when the Tzaddik Ador is saying it, it's not only because of this. It's much bigger than this. Because nobody's brain in the world can really conceptually understand the greatness of Hashem in the smallest act. When the leaf falls off the tree, it says the leaf doesn't fall off the tree, that without the Pamal Yishamal is saying that the leaf falls off. Can you understand that? You know how many leaves there are in the world? It's impossible to count them. So when we think we understand something, we are limited. Our brain has a capacity, no matter how big our brain is, there's a limitation. So no matter what we understand, it's with limitations. So it can't be that that's the full picture, even when it seems like that's the full picture.